And when they cut to the President of the United States, you call your kids in from the other room because you want them to hear what the President of the United States has to say.
So Joe Biden just had one of the cringiest days I can remember in modern political history. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. It really was that bad. So first things first, Biden is in Iowa, like many Democratic primary candidates, because that's where one of the first votes is going to happen. You do well in Iowa, you set yourself up well. You don't, you could put yourself behind the 8 ball before the race really even starts. And so as he's there, he's revealing his new bus. The bus is fine. The bus is normal. It's, the kind of bus a politician has, but it has this slogan on it. The No Malarkey slogan. And Biden was using like hashtag No Malarkey. It was the No Malarkey tour. And it's just the most boomer, or not even boomer, most like 1920s kind of slogan you could think of. I understand his point. He's like, we're the no BS team. We're going to tell you like it is. We're going to give you good, pragmatic, progressive policies, and we're going to defeat that liar Trump. And unlike his malarkey, we're going to give you the real deal. I mean, I get all of that. All of that is evident. But using a term like malarkey is so bad. It's so out of date. It's so out of touch. It's so irrelevant, not just to young people, but to pretty much everyone alive. And if you look at the polling, Biden is leading in the Democratic primary, but where he's weak is among young people. Now, maybe he feels he can't win those people over, and there's no point in trying, so he's going to double down on winning older folks to win this primary. But here's the thing. He needs those young people in the general election. And while you might say, well, what are they going to do? Vote for Trump? No, what they're going to do is not vote. Much like Hillary Clinton couldn't get young people to Pokemon Go to the polls in sufficient numbers to win a close election, I worry that much the same will happen to Joe Biden. And if it does, it'll be in part because he has terrible slogans that don't speak to the realities of young people today. It's not just about slogans. The biggest factor is that Joe Biden has awful policies and doesn't really care about millennials, doesn't really care about young people. He's said as such. He's called young people lazy. He said that young people don't work hard enough. He said that young people don't understand the sacrifices of older generations and that his generation did it, so why can't young people today? Joe Biden has not had the sort of record that really endears itself to young people. But this no malarkey hashtag bus side slogan doesn't help at all. But more than that, we have to talk about the finger. Now, you guys might know what I'm talking about by now, but the finger incident was just awful, guys. It's really bad. So Jill Biden, Joe Biden's wife, former second lady of the Republic, basically came on stage to introduce her husband. And she's giving a traditional political speech. Nothing barn burning, but, not a bad one by any means. And she's sort of, emoting with her hands. And her hand moves close to Joe's mouth. And Joe just does a little bit of a, like that to her finger. And it's about a third in his mouth. And he makes this weird kind of face that's sort of sexual, at least partially, and it's just this little moment. But when you capture it with the picture, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. It looks super cringy and creepy. And yes, I understand it's his wife, and I get it, that it's supposed to be a cute moment more than anything. But this is not relatable. This is not endearing. This comes off as awful. And I know that this is his wife, but I think a lot of people are going to connect this picture, this moment, to the other moments where Joe Biden has sort of been handsy with women. I get it. Those women weren't his wife, but in this particular moment, it just looked really bad. I instantly thought back to all of those other pictures of Joe Biden, and I don't think this is going to be relatable to anybody. So whether it's the No Malarkey slogan, or whether it's Fingergate with his wife Jill, this was not a good day for Joe Biden. But we really do have to remember that it's really not fundamentally about malarkey or finger nibbling, as much as those issues matter and as much as a cringy moment can down a candidate, or at least severely harm them. Just ask Howard Dean. The point is that Joe Biden is totally inauthentic to what it means to represent progressives in 2019. He isn't authentic. And when he tries to manufacture authenticity, it comes off as totally awful. It comes off as him spouting slogans from the 1920s, and it comes off as him nibbling his wife's finger in a really kind of gross and cringy way. He doesn't have the ability to be authentic on policy, because if he's authentic on what he actually believes, it's going to be unpopular with a majority of Democrats. He tried being authentic to himself when he said that he doesn't believe in marijuana legalization, and I trust that that hurt him in the polls, at least internals. Joe Biden's actual ideas are just plain not what it takes to represent the progressive vision of Americans today. I think Bernie Sanders is the best person for that job, but even people like Elizabeth Warren are probably further along the track. And Pete Buttigieg, despite the fact that he's also a centrist neoliberal hack, at least has that youthful and sharp image that Joe Biden doesn't have. And so this was emblematic of the problem of Joe Biden. I don't think the real Joe Biden is something Americans want to vote for, and I don't think the manufactured Joe Biden is at all convincing or is any more endearing than the real Joe Biden. This is something Democrats really have to ask themselves, because right now, as it stands, this man's going to be the nominee. Now, I don't know if he's got staying power. I don't know if once the primary process really kicks into gear, that Biden's going to maintain all of this support. I have a good feeling about Bernie Sanders, but there's also Elizabeth Warren not far away, and Pete Buttigieg, I think, is quickly becoming someone a lot of neoliberals are starting to rally around because they're concerned with Joe Biden. And moments like this are actually emblematic of a terrible candidate running a terrible campaign who's only in the lead because of name recognition, because of inertia, and because of the fact that he was Obama's vice president.